Okay, so dinosaurs are cool. And even though they've been dead for like 65 million years, we still want to know what they were like. In fact, some people think that it would be so cool if we could clone one, which is actually possible, according to this researcher who claims to have dinosaur DNA in his fridge. But how true is this? How much dino DNA do we actually have, and can we really use it to bring back an extinct species, or at least find out what those cute little dino sweaters would look like? Well, let's dive into the science of cloning, genetics, and everything else we need to figure out whether we can clone a dinosaur. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. This video has been made with the support of Brilliant, an interactive online learning platform with thousands of lessons in science, computer science, and math. Whether you want to know more about solar panels, neural networks, astrophysics, special relativity, or computational biology, Brilliant has you covered. You can learn at your own pace and at any time with their bite-sized lessons that are easy to digest and build on each other. So if you want to get smarter and understand more about the world around you, then check out Brilliant. Now back to dinosaurs. If we want to clone an animal, all we need is a suitable egg cell, a few cells from the animal we want to clone, and a way to combine the two. In theory, we could do this with a dinosaur, but there's a catch. Eggs and sperm contain half the genetic material of the organism. This means that if we just take the DNA from a dinosaur, we can't make a full dinosaur out of it because we only have half the genetic instructions. To make a full dinosaur, we need the complete set of instructions, which means we need another dinosaur's DNA to combine it with. The question is, do we have any dinosaur DNA in the first place? It turns out that we do. But before we get to that, let's talk about how fossils become DNA. Fossils are usually found in sedimentary rock, which forms when minerals crystallize out of water over time. This process can preserve organic material like bone and shell, replacing the original material atom by atom. And because these minerals are often radioactive, the fossilized material sometimes contains a small amount of carbon-14, which is an isotope of carbon that decays with a half-life of about 6,000 years. The proportion of carbon-14 in the atmosphere is pretty consistent, so it's a useful tool for dating organic material. Carbon-14 dating isn't perfect, though, since there are factors that can change how quickly carbon-14 breaks down in a fossil. This leaves us with a chicken and egg problem. We need to know how fast carbon-14 breaks down in order to date a fossil, but we also use carbon-14 dating to help us figure out when an animal went extinct. And we need to know when it went extinct in order to determine how fast the carbon-14 breaks down. Because we don't have that exact number, there's a gap in our knowledge about when dinosaurs died out. And it's a pretty big gap. Scientists used to think that the asteroid impact in the Yucatan was the final nail in the coffin for the dinosaurs, so they assumed that they all died around 66 million years ago. But recent discoveries of preserved proteins in dinosaur fossils have pushed back the extinction date to within 700,000 years of today. And while we may not know exactly when dinosaurs died, we do have clues about how they lived. For example, this fossil of a duck-billed dinosaur named Hadrosaurus falki has preserved poop in its fossilized tail. Yep, poop. Turns out dinosaurs pooped just like the rest of us. And in 2022, researchers found something else in this dino dung. They found traces of a pigment called melanoidin. Melanoidin is produced by melanocytes, which are cells responsible for producing melanin, the pigment that gives color to our skin and hair. Melanin is very stable, so it persists in the fossil record. By identifying the shape and distribution of melanosomes, the cellular structures that contain melanin, researchers can reconstruct the color patterns of long-extinct animals. And in this case, they found that the Hadrosaurus falkii would have had a dark green back and a lighter belly, kind of like a crocodile. Speaking of crocodiles, crocodiles and birds are the closest living relatives of dinosaurs. And while they aren't dinosaurs themselves, they are technically considered to be part of the Dinosauria group. And because they're so closely related, scientists think that studying them can help us better understand dinosaurs. So we can learn about the evolution of dinosaurs, by looking at how genes are expressed differently in different tissues in birds and crocs. A 2023 study found that both birds and crocs activate a gene called KRT77 in their toes, but not in their feathers. The researchers think that this gene may play a role in helping birds thermoregulate by making feathers. And given that dinosaurs also had feathers, the researchers speculate that they probably did too. So KRT77 may have played a role in dinosaur thermoregulation, but without preserved DNA, we can't say for sure. And unfortunately, that's where things get complicated. Scientists haven't managed to extract intact dinosaur DNA from any fossil. The most successful DNA extractions from fossils have yielded fragments that are only a few dozen base pairs long. That's only enough to identify the molecule as DNA and to give us a rough idea of what parts of the genome are most closely related to modern reptiles. And in general, the older the sample, the less DNA we find. Even if we manage to find intact dinosaur DNA, we wouldn't be able to get enough of it to clone a dinosaur. That's because DNA breaks down into smaller molecules after an organism dies. And while we can replicate DNA in a lab setting, we can't replicate it backwards. So we couldn't assemble the whole sequence of a dinosaur genome by stitching together bits and pieces of it. So no matter how hard scientists try, including this guy, we probably won't ever clone a dinosaur. But the search for dino DNA has taught us a lot about how closely related birds and dinosaurs are. So maybe instead of trying to bring back dinosaurs, we should just appreciate that they're still with us. Now, while we won't be bringing back dinosaurs anytime soon, this hasn't stopped people from wanting to learn more about them. In fact, a survey conducted by the Pew Research Center in 2019 found that 73% of Americans said they would be interested in visiting a Jurassic Park-like theme park that featured cloned dinosaurs. And 28% of respondents said they would visit such a park, even if it meant they'd have to sign a waiver acknowledging the risks involved. While it might seem like a far-fetched idea, the technology to clone dinosaurs does exist. However, the difficulty lies in obtaining their DNA because it's incredibly unlikely that we would ever be able to find a preserved dinosaur egg containing viable DNA. But what if we could somehow get our hands on some dinosaur DNA? It's worth noting that even if we had a complete set of dinosaur DNA, we would face numerous ethical concerns regarding the safety and well-being of the cloned dinosaur. There are also legal and regulatory hurdles that would need to be overcome before we could consider cloning a dinosaur. Regardless, the prospect of bringing back dinosaurs continues to captivate our imaginations. And while it remains to be seen whether we'll ever be able to do so, the idea serves as a reminder of the incredible power of genetic engineering and the possibilities that lie ahead. In the meantime, we can marvel at the amazing creatures that roam our planet today and appreciate the incredible diversity of life that surrounds us. So what do you think? Would you visit a Jurassic Park-like theme park if it meant you could see a real live dinosaur? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.